Greetings, fellow detectives. Wizard Kitten here, bringing you a new build in my series, Building Nancy Drew in The Sims 4. Today I am bringing you another recreation of a location within the Nancy Drew series that we get to see, and I am recreating it in The Sims. And today we are recreating Mary Yazzie's shop from Nancy Drew Secret of Shadow Ranch. This was a really fun build for me to do because it was really small and also really cluttered, which are honestly two of my favorite things to do when I'm building in The Sims. I really enjoy small spaces because they end up feeling just so realistic because you're able to fit more things into a smaller space in a shorter amount of time. And I love adding clutter to builds because, again, it makes them feel realistic. Very few spaces in real life are perfectly pristine, and I like when things are just kind of smooshed into a tiny place as much as possible. So I got to explore both of those things when recreating Mary Yazzie's shop, which was a whole lot of fun. I did really want to make this lot a retail shop so that your Sims could go into it and then purchase items just like you could if you were to visit Mary Yazzie's shop. But I also thought that this shop would be best suited for like a vacation world, and I thought about putting it in Granite Falls, and it doesn't really make sense there style-wise since this is more of a desert world. And honestly, a lot of the items that you can find in Mary Yazzie's shop do kind of fit in a little bit with Salvadorada, and so I decided to put it in Salvadorada. So just like the Beach Hill Museum, which I made, which also is in Salvadorada, I decided to make this a little museum as well. So this is kind of like the more informal kind of museum. This is the little off-the-road shop that is owned by somebody local who has just accumulated a bunch of antiques and family heirlooms, and who all of the people who live in the area actually give their things if they're cleaning out estates or having garage sales or something like that. So these are kind of like the real natural kind of curios, whereas the Beach Hill Museum in this world is like the fancy institutional type museum, if that makes sense. This is the more like down to earth, homey type museum, and then the Beach Hill Museum is the more formal, more corporate, I guess, shall we say, one. So anyway, we're working on the outside here, which ends up looking very similar to the shop in the game. That was really my goal, was to try and get it to look as similar as possible while also still fitting in Salvadorada. And the ground of this particular lot in Salvadorada honestly helped me out with that because it has kind of the rocky and dirt kind of texture added to it automatically with some grassy areas, which actually is very similar to how it was in the game as well. I was looking at my walkthrough of Secret of Shadow Ranch while I was building this, and I was just really pleased with how it still managed to fit in Salvadorada despite being a desert location, more accurately. So then when I moved on to the inside, I realized that there is this weird bump out that does not appear to be on the outside, but definitely is on the inside. This happens very frequently when we do these recreations where the exterior does not match the interior floor plan, like hardly at all. But I was able to kind of make it work. I was able to kind of hide that octagonal roof into everything and get that bump out in there so that it really does, I think at least, look very similar to how it looks in Secret of Shadow Ranch. And now we're going to start adding in some of the decor options, again trying to match it as much as possible. And I feel like I was pretty successful with this one. Like, I was able to find a lot of items that did really match the style and the vibe of Mary's shop, and I was very happy with that as a whole. I do really enjoy Mary Yazzie's shop as a location too. It just feels very cozy, it feels very authentic, and I like that it's a location that we can visit off the ranch where we can still also visit people, because that makes it feel like there are more options as far as suspects go. Like, we're not just limited to the ranch people. If we can visit people in other locations, then who knows, the options are endless for suspects, which is just one of many things that I love about Secret of Shadow Ranch. It is just such an amazing game. I'd be very curious to hear where Secret of Shadow Ranch lands for you fellow detectives, if it's one of your favorites as well, if you really enjoy it. The general consensus among the Nancy Drew community does seem to be that Secret of Shadow Ranch is one of the best that the series has to offer just as a whole. It is pretty fantastic, pretty universally well-liked. Of course, there are people who don't like it, but that's the thing with the Nancy Drew games, is there's something for all of us, and then there are some that just don't work for some of us, and that's totally okay. It's one of the things I love about them. But now we're going to start adding in some of the decor, trying to match the wall color. I did end up needing to put in pillars on the walls as well to kind of add in some of the architectural detailing that the space actually has. It doesn't look exactly perfect, but I think it does kind of work. It gets the idea across that there is still some dimension to this very tiny space, which I was happy about as well. Mary Yazzie is an interesting character too, because I feel like she's sometimes easy to forget because she isn't on the ranch. She's not with Tex and Dave and Shorty, all of whom are very memorable characters in their own right. I mean, Shorty is Shorty. Shorty is hilarious, very outspoken. And then Dave is just extremely handsome, so we all remember Dave. And then Tex is just so memorable for his gruffness and his voice, and the way he communicates with Nancy, how he's supposed to be kind of scary. So they're all super memorable, and I think it's sometimes easy to forget about Mary and her little shop out here, but I do really like her as a character, and I do love that she has her own subplots that go along with the major plot as well. I think that's really important because otherwise she would have felt quite underdeveloped in comparison to the three ranch hands. So I am glad that they gave Mary her moment. She definitely deserved that. For this build as well, I did end up going to the gallery and getting some of the completed embroidery from the gallery menu. So thankfully, there are people within the community who will take like all of the in-game paintings, all of the in-game embroidery, all of the in-game knittables, basically any of the debug items that normally you would have to sift through the catalog quite a bit in order to find. Thankfully, there's a lot of amazing simmers who put those things up on the gallery for us to find. So I used a lot of the embroidery in the decoration in this space, which I thought fit really nicely with everything. And then I also used a bunch of desert photographs of different places around, I'm assuming Oasis Spring, that somebody else on the gallery kindly put up there as well. And it was just nice to fill in all of the wall space with art. Like, I tried to not have any empty wall space, and similarly, I tried to not really have any empty floor or shelving space. I wanted this to almost feel like a curio shop, and I have been thinking about doing Zeke's curio shop from Nancy Drew Legend of the Crystal Skull as well, so let me know in the comment section if you would be interested in seeing that come to life in The Sims. I think that would be a fun challenge as well, since that has such a cluttered and very specific, creepy kind of aesthetic. But I think that would definitely be fun. But yeah, I wanted to go for a similar vibe in this space where it felt like there were just tons and tons of curios to kind of purchase, a ton of different options. And hopefully that comes across. It is difficult at times to fill in the wall and shelf space in The Sims 4 because even though we have so many decorative items, I always want more. I could always use more decorative items. And I think it's because we do technically have a lot of decorative items, but we don't have a lot of decorative items per style. So like depending on the style that you're going for, you might have like 10 solid decorative items for that style. And then you have a bunch of other decorative items, but they don't fit the build because they're in different styles, which can be a problem when you're trying to fill up a space, but also maintain a certain aesthetic. So it helps when you're working on a more kind of like curio shop museum type space as well, because it doesn't all have to necessarily match, but you know, we do our best. We do the best that we can. I was also really happy with how this little window area turned out. This is the area that in-game Nancy goes over. She looks at the arrowheads, she can look at the tuning forks, she can look at pictures, and I thought just all of these file boxes from Dream Home Decorator and Get to Work actually worked really nicely in getting that idea across. Like, your Sims could go over and flip through these boxes and look at all the photographs of locals and all the history. I just thought that was really cool. I did also scatter books throughout the shop as well as an homage to Charlene Purcell, like wind through my heart. So you can imagine that your Sims looking at these books are looking at Charlene Purcell novels. And unfortunately, I couldn't fit in a Roadrunner game because that is not something that exists within The Sims 4. There aren't really any standing arcade video type games to begin with. There is one standing arcade game, but it's massive. It's really big. And I think it came with Get Together, but it's for 4 Sims at a time. It's not just a single player kind of thing, so I didn't want to even try to put that in there. And because this is a museum lot, I needed to have an easel. And so I decided to put in a couple of easels in place of that so that this lot does also have some functionality. Your Sims can come here and they can paint. And when we get to the back office, it also functions because it has a computer and there's a small little office space back there with an archaeology table. Since this is Salvadorada, and I thought it also worked for Mary Yazzie as well, because I'm sure she has to do a lot of kind of like restoration with a lot of the products that she gets, particularly things like arrowheads or petrified wood, those kinds of things. She's going to need to do quite a bit of work on. This is a table that goes with Jungle Adventure, and I was trying to make this the Charlene Purcell table, and I could not find the debug book items, and I did not want to kind of go shuffling through the debug items, so I have sized down a couple of different book options. And again, we'll pretend it's Charlene Purcell. I did also want to give a huge welcome to any new fellow detectives who may have found the channel recently, joined the channel recently. I think that the YouTube algorithm may have smiled on me for a period of time because 2 of my recent Nancy Drew analysis videos got significantly higher views than typically, and I noticed that we have quite a few new fellow detectives. So welcome. I am so glad that you are here. Welcome to my little niche Nancy Drew and Sims 4 corner of the internet, where I get to obsess about my favorite video game series, particularly Nancy Drew and The Sims. I'm so happy you found the channel. My name is not exactly Wizard Kitten. I go by Wizard Kitten, but my name is Caitlin, and by day I am a speech language pathologist, a speech therapist. I work with elementary age students with communication disorders, and I have the summers off since I work in elementary schools, which means in the summers I get to do streamathons. It's something that I started when my school switched to distance learning during the pandemic, and now I have just continued because it has been so much fun. It's so rewarding to play the games with you all. It started as a way for me to kind of get to play the Nancy Drew games again, but in a slightly different way. I started posting walkthroughs on YouTube, and then I started posting live streams, and it just became this thing that steadily grew over time, where more and more fellow detectives, we kind of found each other and kind of grew this little community together. So if you're new here, welcome. If you are a old fellow detective, shout out to you as well. Thank you so much for sticking around during these last few years. It's been so fun to get to meet so many of you, so many other people who also enjoy the Nancy Drew games, because like many of you, I don't have anybody in my real life who also plays the Nancy Drew games, or at least not nearly as obsessively as I do. Like people who have played the games dozens of times each, who have played all of them, who own all of them, and who really just truly love them. Same with The Sims. I only have a few people who play The Sims even, but not as obsessively necessarily. So yeah, that's a quick little rundown of the channel. If you are new here, I'm very happy that you are here. And if you are old here or moderately new here, I just appreciate you all so much. So thank you for enjoying this content as much as I do. Now, all that being said, we are continuing to decorate Mary Yazzie's shop with just a bunch of clutter on this center area. It's kind of interesting because I was able to find several items within the Sims 4 catalog that match the items behind Mary's desk so perfectly, so that was a lot of fun. And then, like I mentioned before, using a lot of the desert Oasis Springs type of photographs, and having the cacti pictures everywhere just makes me really happy because it feels like something that Mary would definitely have in her shop, would totally have in there, and would sell to people as well as sort of like postcards or souvenirs. That's kind of the idea of this place, honestly, is that it feels like a souvenir kind of place, which I imagine is what Mary uses the shop for in Secret of Shadow Ranch as well. And has to be more of a souvenir type place because she doesn't sell any essentials. Like Emily Griffin in Ghost Dogs of Moon Lake, in her store, she sells essentials. She sells food, she sells snacks, she sells bait, she sells photography equipment and probably hunting equipment, I would imagine, lots of fishing equipment. Things that you need to, survive in the forest or explore the forest or do forest and lake type activities. Very different vibe for Emily's shop versus Mary's shop. And then also, again, a very different vibe to Zeke's curio shop. It's actually kind of fun thinking about those three different shops and comparing the completely different purposes and aesthetics for them and how they play a role in the Nancy Drew series as well. I wonder if that should be a Nancy Drew analysis video. My favorite businesses in the Nancy Drew series. I love it. You guys are always so good at helping me come up with the most niche videos for Nancy Drew analysis videos. Honestly, that sounds like one that I would have a lot of fun making, ranking all of the Nancy Drew businesses. I could have a whole lot of fun with that. There's a lot. I mean, when you think about all the restaurants and pubs, we've got the Screaming Banshee Inn and Haunting of Castle Malloy. We've got the Hot Kettle Cafe and Danger on Deception Island. We've got lots of options. There's the little stand in the Silent Spy. I'm thinking of other possible options too. I mean, Big Island Mike's is its whole own business and it takes up a huge part of the mystery. So I think that's totally possible. That's totally something we could do. Let me know in the comment section if that's a video that you would like to see. But we are going to be transitioning now to a real-time kind of tour of Mary's shop. So let's head into that. All right, and here is the completed build. I have been graced with Mel's presence for this reveal. She is sitting on my lap and purring. You can't see her, but trust that she is definitely there. So here's the exterior of Mary's shop. Try to keep it as faithful to the game, to Secret of Shadow Ranch as possible. We have the horse kind of tie station over here, just a little bit of outdoor area over here with some very simple landscaping. And then when you walk inside the shop, we are met with all sorts of different curios. Of course, there are some tourists here checking things out, but basically there is just a ton to look at. The walls and the floors are all decorated. There are things to admire, things to purchase, things to look at, like resources, to peruse, art of the local area. And then this would be Mary's station over here, where she's going to kind of value some of the things that she finds, like the arrowheads and whatnot. Some more curios over on this side. And then if we go through this door, we have the bathroom space, the public bathroom area with the very inconvenient door into the retail area. And then in the back, we have this kind of workstation office where everybody appears to be hanging out. Really respecting Mary Yazzie's privacy here, guys. But anyway, we have art on the walls. We have a little computer workstation for Mary, a cot for the days when she decides that she wants to work here and spend the night here. And then a nice little kind of archaeology, what's the word? a nice authentication archaeology system over here in the corner. So yeah, that is the completed version of Mary Yazzie's shop. I do hope you all enjoyed the build process of watching this little shop come together, a reiteration of what it could look like in The Sims with all of the Sims different items. But thank you all so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed it. Please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more Nancy Drew and Sims 4 content. Thank you so much for watching, fellow detectives. I will see you soon.